Alien Isolation, the board game. So this is a title that I've revisited recently. It's out on mobile. How did I not know this, being an Alien enthusiast, really enjoying the Alien universe? And admittedly, my experience in the Alien universe is mostly aliens, colonial marines, kind of tactical tabletop skirmish, and I've enjoyed previous board game titles in that setting. But Alien Isolation is really such an interesting game in terms of just the atmosphere, surviving, and dealing with the alien one-on-one as a normal person. No team to back you up, no super weapons, just mind against mind. And the video game, captures it so well. It's easily one of my favorite games. And I have to honestly admit, even having played it many times, where I'm familiar with it. I know the cutscenes. I know what's going on. I know when and where the alien's going to spawn. And some places it's more active than not. It still kind of scares me. It still kind of takes me by surprise. Well, it definitely takes me by surprise. And in that framework, it's the AI of the alien. Now, of course, depending on, no spoilers, if you haven't played the title, it's fantastic. The AI scales depending on the setting, the difficulty setting. You put it on easy and the alien just kind of wanders around and sees if it can see you. But if you leave it on normal, it'll enter a room. If you're in a room, it might do something like enter a room, look around, but not too hard, and then leave. And then 5, 8, 10 seconds later, jump back into the room. So you're kind of hiding, the alien moves, and you're like, okay, I better get out of here, and it catches you. It's an interesting AI. And the setting, the graphics for the time, although they still hold up perfectly, that kind of retro 70s sci-fi, all absolutely top-notch, but it's the AI. So I'm playing it yesterday, and of course there's DLC and content that expands with it for different modes of play, including survival mode. Playing it yesterday, and I'm thinking to myself, this thing is acting like an alien. It's just a digital game. I'm sitting there on my phone playing it. And it reminded me of the AI in Kingdom Death Monster. Kingdom Death Monster, it's a board game, you go hunting various monsters and you build a settlement. And the AI, the monsters are controlled by a deck of AI cards, deck of action cards. Now, certainly this is nothing new. There's other board games and titles that do it. But I have to say, out of all the titles that I've owned and the ones that I've played, this game has the best example of card-based mechanics AI with dice. When it's time for the monster to act, you flip it over and you resolve it. And depending on one or two factors, you might resolve different things. Depending if it was recently attacked, it might act a certain way. If there's a target in range, it'll act a certain way. If there's no target in range, it'll do this. And of course, it's tailored for the behavior of the monsters you hunt. And there are times when I'm playing Kingdom Death Monster where it feels like someone's in the other room or controlling this monster digitally on the table. I mean, yes, I'm flipping the cards and resolving it, but it does not feel like it's AI card driven. So I was thinking about that as I was playing Isolation last night, running away from the alien and hiding in lockers and under tables. And I thought to myself, wow, what if you could capture a board game that could do this? Now, I know there's a lot of Alien titles out there, and there's kind of the classic Alien game where you play against it with the crew. But imagine if you had, let's say, 12 double-sided tiles. This was my kind of thought. 12 double-sided tiles that will display various parts of the space station or the environment. Might be a med lab, might be some corridors, might be a command center, might be a habitat center. And of course, on the board, on the square board, I'm thinking like Zombicide boards. Zombicide and Zombicide Invader, you have 6 of these square boards that you put out to build the play area, and they're double-sided so you can flip them. So you have a lot of dynamic combinations. I'm thinking you set out a board, and of course there'll be places marked on there with the terrain, with the printing of stuff that blocks line of sight, stuff that blocks movement, places you can hide. And that's where we go from there. So this idea, like you have to secure certain objectives, like maybe turn on the power on 5 or 6 tiles, or get enough items to survive and escape in an area, and have the aliens spawn randomly at different points, possibly dropping out of the ductwork on the ceiling or popping in from a door, and have its AI moving around, and have it where you could drive the alien away. You really can't kill the alien, because we're not turning this into like Colonial Marines Light. We already got that, right? We already got Another Day. But if you turned it where if the alien saw you, it would move, and depending on the gear that you have, you could drive it away or force it back, force it to flee, and of course, it might kill you with a number of attacks. Give yourself 3 health, you can kind of take 3 attacks. That would be really cool. Then you have some survivors. They've got some different skills. They've got some different synergies. And maybe it's a campaign where you go through certain areas and you lay out 1 tile at a time representing that area. Then when you move to a new area, lay out another tile, another tile. That would be really, really cool. And you can make it slick production value, because we're not going to fight tons of aliens and face huggers and queen aliens and all this crazy stuff. Although that could be some expansion packs to make things interesting. But it would be a low miniature count game, so you could pump it up and make the miniatures really good. It would be the tiles. It would be cards. You could do some crazy AI with an alien. And that would be a really, really cool game. Then maybe you give it a survival mode too. So you've got a campaign. Then you give it a just survive mode for replayability. Throw out some expansions. Your thought on that? A true survival horror type game. There's not a ton out there. And I'm not talking about ones that are just like, and there's nothing wrong with this, I'm a big enthusiast of Zombicide themes, but not like a reskin of Zombicide where there's tons of zombies coming at you. Something close up, one-on-one, you trying to outwit the AI. And I think something like Alien Isolation, I would love to see a direct port. That would be amazing. Of course, I'm also waiting for Diablo, the board game. But something like Alien Isolation, if you have played it, you know what I'm talking about. If you're looking for just something really cool for mobile, this game is fantastic. Even if you're not a total Alien enthusiast, you're like, yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's definitely worth checking out. Take that vibe, capture it in a board game setting, and I think you've got something there.